Good afternoon and welcome everybody. It is Friday, October 29th. It's 1:34 p.m. and I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Thank you. Sorry for the delayed start, but glad to see you all here. Thank you for staff for putting this together and making sure we have what we need. So board members and Dr. Stubblefield, good afternoon and thank you. And for everyone that's joining us online, thanks for joining. We'll start off with our board norms and protocols. The board, we agree to respect the differences of opinions in making decisions for the district, to follow best practices in managing the superintendent and the management of the board itself, stay on task when conducting business for the district, including while at board meetings, to never surprise the superintendent or each other when conducting official business of the district, to read these norms at the beginning of each board meeting and at board workshops as a reminder of how to conduct our meetings, continually self-check to determine if we are following our norms when conducting district business. With that, Ms. Smith, please do a roll call.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, present.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, present.
Janie Humphries.
Janie's here.
Randy Lopez.
Randy Lopez, present.
Wanda Brownlee Page. Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen here.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I entertain a motion to approve today's special agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, discussion? Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries.
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page. Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll jump right into our agenda. First up is to approve our human resources report and recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Questions or discussion? If not, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries.
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page. Dr. Nguyen.
Dr. Nguyen here.
Dr.
Yes.
Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next on our agenda, I'd entertain a motion to recess to executive session to discuss matters of non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy interests of the parties involved under coma, going in at 1:39 for 15 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark.
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew.
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries.
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez.
Randy, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page. Dr. Nguyen.
Yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. into open session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries, Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page, Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Thank you. We're back in open session. Motion to extend the executive session for 15 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries, Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page, Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Thank you. Motion to return to open session, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes?
Wanda Brownlee Page, Dr. Nguyen, Dr. Yeager.
Thank you. We're back in open session. Is there a motion to recess to executive session to discuss matters of non-elected personnel in order to protect privacy interests of parties involved under coma, going in at 2:25 for 30 minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes?
Wanda Brownlee Page, Dr. Nguyen, Dr. Yeager. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to return to open session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Jenny, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page, Dr. Nguyen, Dr. Yeager.
Thank you. We're back in open session. Motion to extend our executive session for 35 minutes, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Jenny, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page, Dr. Nguyen, Dr. Yeager.
Thank you. Motion to return to open session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew, Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page, Dr. Nguyen,
Yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Thank you. We're back in open session. Motion to extend the executive session for 15 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew, Janie Humphries,
Yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page, Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Thank you. Motion to return to open session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page, Dr. Nguyen, Dr. Yeager.
Thank you. Back in open session. Motion to extend executive session for 10 minutes, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page, Dr. Nguyen, Dr. Yeager.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
return to open session? Oh, sorry.
So moved.
Sorry, hold 1 second, Ms. Drew. I'm gonna wait for. Motion to return to open session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes?
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are back in open session. I would,
Go ahead, Randy. Sorry.
thank you. Would entertain, Dr. Yeager would entertain a motion regarding form contracts. Dr. Yeager?
Yes, Greg, and you may need to help with wording relating to the contracts, please. But I would like to make a motion that for the tier contracts that were discussed, that we keep the family plan
Two.
for those contracts.
It's the Tier 2 contracts, which are the administrative cabinet level contracts.
So my recommendation is that we keep the family plan in the tier 2 contracts as clearly described by Greg.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second it.
There's a second on the floor. Questions or discussion from the board? Ms. Humphries?
Did we clarify that
Yeah, I think we better have clear language on what we're voting on here. As I understand it, let me just say what the current language is. That's what the motion is to do, or so the current language is that the administrator will be provided the value of comprehensive family medical insurance policy through the board's group insurance program, and that benefit is in accordance with with and subject to the laws of Kansas and the laws of the federal government.
Is that what your motion was suggesting, Dr. Yeager?
Yes, that we keep the current language.
Thank you. And Ms. Drew, you agreed to that?
Yes, I
That's what you were
second
agreeing
it.
to? Thank you. Other questions or discussion? If not, Ms. Smith, would you do a roll call vote?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, no.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes?
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, no.
Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, no.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
I want to make another motion for the residency requirement as it relates to those contracts as well. That it would be modified for employees to live within a 20-minute distance from the nearest, or however the rest of that language reads, Greg.
It currently reads, shall maintain primary residence within a 20-minute drive time to any district facility.
My motion is that it's consistent among all of those tier contracts.
We need a second.
There's a motion on the floor. Was there a second?
Second.
And a second. Questions or discussion?
I have a question. Did we discuss 20 to 30 minutes?
So the motion proposed is 20 minutes.
Okay.
I'm okay with modifying it to 30 minutes if Yolanda's in agreement with it.
I'm in agreement.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Maxine.
It is an amended motion to reflect the 30-minute drive time, and it was agreed upon by Ms. Clark. And this is for the same Tier 2 administration. Any further questions or discussion? If not, Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, no.
Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, no.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next on our agenda is a policy review. I'm going to hand it off to Greg. Looking at the time, want to be cognizant of folks' time this Friday afternoon. So, Greg, just a quick update on policies.
Yeah, so we have a couple different things on the agenda that relates to policies. I think we had envisioned this would be the third read for the policy EBBD and EBBF. If there are no changes or suggestions to those, the board could adopt those as a final version. Those would become policies of the district. The other thing I'd intended to do today is I have gone through the policies that had recommended changes from KASB that you guys had received the packets from. I spoke about what those recommendations were at one of the prior meetings. I've got red line versions of the district's policy available for the board today that I anticipated we would go over. I can distribute those to the board. You could either take them as a first read tonight, or since there isn't going to be time for a discussion, we could delay that. You guys could just receive them tonight, and you guys could do a first read at a different board meeting if you chose to do so. I don't want to shortchange the board's opportunity to review and discuss the policies. That was kind of the point of having a special meeting to do it, so that everybody had a chance to really review it. And then we had a handful of other policy suggestions that people wanted to discuss, and we can certainly talk about those. I've gathered some information about some policy language for those and gathered the current policies that relate to some of those topics. But again, I don't want to shortchange people's opportunity to actually have a meaningful discussion about those rather than just throw something at everybody here at the last minute. So I'm open to handling this however you guys want to handle it, but I certainly want to at least give everybody on the board the red line version of our policy as modified, as suggested by KASB on the ones that we talked about at the last meeting.
Yeah, so I would recommend that we at least, you distribute those amongst board members, those KASB red line policies, so that we can review them. And Ms. Smith, if you could work with the board to find an additional date for specifically a policy review, so we can review those and the other policies that board members had suggested that we wanted to review, in order to give the board members and Mr. Goheen enough time for us to have proper discussions. So that would be my suggestion. Board is agreeable to that?
I agree.
Works for me.
Okay. It would be open to motion to accept for third read changes to policies BBD and EBBF.
So move.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? Not Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Board, if you have other policy reviews that you would like to make sure that we discuss, please send those to myself and Mr. Goheen, and we can make sure those get added to the special meeting where we'll discuss policies.
And just so that everybody's clear, the ones that I have passed out as proposed revisions to are policy DC, policy EE, policy GAAC, GAACA, IDAA, JGEC, and JGECA. So if for some reason you didn't get all of those copies, then let me know, and I'll make sure I've given you the right ones.
Thank you, Mr. Gohey. And Ms. Smith, if you could make sure that's reflected in the minutes, those policies that were passed along.
And I'll give a copy to Ms. Smith, too, so she's got it.
Thank you. Dr. Nguyen?
No, it was hiding.
Okay, thank you.
Could you clarify if that's the one that's posted online or it's not been posted online yet?
It has not been posted online yet, but we'll make sure it gets posted online and so that you guys all have copies of it. I brought working copies today because I thought we'd be going over them and people would want them to mark up, so.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay. Next on the agenda was a discussion regarding Board Committee for Mascot and school name changes. If you recall, that is something that had come up. I thought today, per policy FC, Board Policy FC, there is a process for the board to review mascot and school name changes. Board, I had asked if you were interested in being part of that committee. The board must vote to whether we want to form a committee, and if so, then the board would appoint a committee to do so. Greg, just want to make sure I'm doing this properly. Do we need to vote to whether we want to take on, form this committee initially?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm curious if there is, if the board would like to form a committee to review mascot and school name changes.
Do you need a motion, Randy?
I would need a motion to do so.
Make a motion that we form a committee to address the school naming and mascot.
Thank you. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Questions or discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Smith, would you do a roll call, please?
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy Lopez, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Dr. Nguyen?
I have actually like to make a motion to amend policy FC.
Okay, please.
That under the second category of naming new facilities, whenever a new property is to be named, the board shall solicit community input and shall make the final decision regarding the name. So the amendment would be changing the may to a shall to make it all consistent. And then the other is just a typographical error. That I guess this is reviewed last in 2001. So for 20 years, there's been a misspelled word.
It's a good thing it's an educational organization, right?
Yes, isn't it? So under the third, the last sentence stating why it supports should be WHY instead of WHEY.
Okay.
So I don't know if you need a motion to make a correction, a spelling correction.
No, I think the spelling correction can be made without motion, but the other does need a motion, and
Okay.
you've got one pending, so.
That's my motion, changing the may to shall to be consistent with all other shalls.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Questions, discussion? Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. So with that, I know I've had a couple of board members who have reached out that they would like to participate or be a part of this committee. I would, if agreeable to the board, appoint Dr. Yeager and Ms. Clark to form this initial part of the committee and review the policy and the structure of how we will move forward and bring back a process to the board in terms of how we will undergo the renaming of facilities, mascots, and school names. Do I need to make that a motion, Greg?
Yeah, it needs to be a motion.
Okay, I would move to name Ms. Yolanda Clark and Dr. Stacy Yeager
Second.
to be a part of that committee. Ms. Humphries seconded. Questions or discussion? Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes.
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next agenda item, I would recommend that we table just for purposes of time to really have an in-depth conversation, and perhaps when we schedule the next meeting special meeting, that we allow time to reconvene around board practices and procedures. The board is agreeable to that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next agenda item that we have on our agenda today is an update on our bond. If you recall, board, at a previous board meeting in September, staff came to us with an update on the bond and available remaining funds from that bond. You should have received an email last night from Ms. Smith with an updated information. Staff is asking for a little bit of guidance and direction in terms of how best to use those available funds. So I know we have Dr. Turan with us this afternoon, and he does have some things for the board to consider, and we will be needing some guidance on that. Dr. Turan?
Thank you very much. Yes, Doug Clemens should be here shortly in case we want some of his details. Tracy Kaiser was going to be here with us, but at this time she's not going to be with us, but she can provide us further updates. What I'd like to draw your attention to is the president submitted some slides regarding the presentation that was made to the board on September 28th, and on the bond funds and the leftover funds and the budget for those items. And at this time, we've been able to take a nearer look. Can you help me
Go to
with
slideshow.
that?
Click on
You got it?
slideshow.
They got it. Okay, very good. It's my first time up here. Not as good a driver with it. Sorry, thank you. We were able to, have, there you go.
And my apologies, Dr. Tran. I think what's being presented on the screen is the slides from September 28th, if I'm looking at them correctly. I know you submitted an updated version.
Yes, I
that I
did.
don't think was updated on the computer, so.
No, I, on the computer, I do think we have it. I think I actually clicked the older version, both
Oh,
are.
okay. Board members, you should have received that email, so it should be in your email.
So, yeah, you want to bring that one up to me? Again, my apologies.
That's okay. I just want to make sure that we're all looking at the same
There we
numbers.
go.
There we go. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Rashid.
Thank you so much. Yes, you received, that was the older item from 9/28, and essentially there have been some modifications to that, just in presentation as things have developed. And one of them is that because of ESSER 3 funds, we're actually going to be able to have a little bit more, we anticipate, in the total available bond funds remaining. Instead of around $4,600,000, it'll be closer to $6,700,000 because of the items that we are intending to submit for ESSER 3, and we're pretty sure, I can't say conclusively, but pretty sure that we will be able to realize that gain then in our available bond funds. And here's then in this slide, this was the anticipated outstanding costs that the board, to my understanding, it happened before I was here, made some approvals to proceed with those. A completion of New Stanley at the amount over $300,000, the TA Edison parking lot, and in red here is the RTU replacements, and we feel those very clearly fall into ESSER 3, and that was over $2 million, and that's why we have a difference of about $2 million. We have then $1,200,000 for Bethel remodel, Carl B. Bruce Field, $500,000. And so the estimate is lower than the one we had on September 28th. Then here you have essentially a slide that combines in red some changes we would suggest to consider as we've prioritized, and then, but it contains all of the items essentially that Mr. Covington presented on September 28th, and those would be in blue. First of all, he had remodel Bethel Elementary, and we continue to think that's a very good project for the board to consider and approve at the proper time. We believe that that was at a higher level, at about close to maybe $3 million in the last estimate. We think it would require about $1.1 million to complete that because of some coding things and re-looking at that project. For example, instead of restrooms in every classroom, it seems like we can have restrooms in some pods and things like that. So that becomes a little bit more manageable, and that's a very worthy project. And the asterisk just means that at this point in time, Tracy Kaiser, Doug Clements, and myself would be recommending that as a consideration to the board. We also think a huge priority would be land purchase for Central Middle School. We think there's a potential, it's not guaranteed, of some swaps that could happen between different authorities, and we want to pursue that. It seems like this is a really big priority, as we're hearing, and we want to vigorously recommend going in that direction and looking at everything we can. The next item, the third bullet in blue, purchase building across from Schlegel Stadium. At this time, we would need more information on what that would entail and how that fits in the scheme. And we certainly look forward to your input on that as well. Renovate Fairfax, the building, because the program is at the old White Church building, I believe. I have visited that site briefly. And at this time, we're also wanting more information on that, especially as we look to see where we want to build forward with any potential new funds and with capital and so forth, all things to be determined. One thing that was not on the list previously, and we would strongly recommend for consideration, would be an elevator tower for Washington High School. To my understanding, it is the only high school without an elevator, and there are some access issues, I believe, on the floors. And we estimate, and we had a meeting yesterday with some of the folks from J.E. Dunn and got some figures from them and from other folks, and we believe that an estimate of about 1.5. It is a strange time to make estimates because so much is going on in the economy, but we're thinking it would be about that much. We have to vet that further. So we would recommend that. And then it seems that when we begin to look at where we'd like to go with things we were not able to do in the bond that is finishing up, was the reduction or elimination of modular classrooms in our sites. And we looked at 2 sites, and I actually was at these sites yesterday and looking at some of those, and the Pearson site makes probably at this time would be a priority, but we're not recommending that right at this point. But we want to just bring that to your attention that maybe we could do some of this And hopefully, this will be a big part of any future endeavor with bonds for you to decide as a board. One project that we're not sure how much you have heard of directly, but I've been impressed by it, and it does seem to be a need with our athletic programs, particularly for middle school programs, but it would also be for track and beyond just middle school football and soccer and those that would use a field and track, would be the Eisenhower Stadium. There are the United Government facilities there. They're adjoining the school. And it's not the rec center, but the community center that's next to the school, the track that is kind of there needs a lot of refurbishing, and a beautiful property to have really a showcase place for our athletics. But that would be a big cost. It would be around $17 million, and probably would take every bit of this and capital or some combination if we were to pursue that. But that is something we at least want to put out there that Mr. Covington presented that to me. I spent quite a bit of time looking at it, and I can see why he did that. There seems to be a real need there or somewhere, and so far that seems, at this time, and I've had very little time here, like a really worthy thing to consider. And then those would be our recommendations. So we're prioritizing 3 things right now: remodel Bethel, land purchase for future building for future site for Central Middle School, and Washington Elevator. As we proceed then to look at the bond, what would happen in future bond, things that were not completed that we wish we would have, that list needs to be really poured through more deeply.
Thank you,
I
Dr.
entertain any questions you have, and Mr. Clemens has come in, and he knows the details very, very much.
Thank you, Dr. Turan and Mr. Clemens, for being available. Board, I would recommend, in light of trying to rush through a discussion on a late afternoon, I wanted to make sure that Dr. Turan had the opportunity to present the information for you aside from just sending you the slides. I'll allow if there are specific clarifying questions based on what Dr. Turan has presented. If not, my recommendation would be that we move this to our next board meeting to have further discussion. Gives you time to digest the information, send questions to Dr. Stubblefield and Dr. Turan regarding the recommendations and projects, and that we have a more full, in-depth conversation at the next board meeting. But if there's any clarifying or questions for Dr. Turan now, please let me know. Dr. Nguyen?
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. I would just ask that, I guess, the first question is, are you at liberty to identify the land parcels that you're talking about land swap, so that next time we have this discussion, it's a clear, cleaner, crisp discussion to know exactly what that it would entail.
And we might want to have that discussion in an executive session, just so that because there's an executive session we can specifically go into to discuss potential land acquisition to avoid having a public discussion which might increase or cause a problem with the valuation of the land. So that might be an appropriate thing to do, but certainly.
Okay.
I certainly defer to whichever. I would say this, and again, I've been here 1 week transitioning with Mr. Covington, which he did a great job and was very helpful, and 4 weeks then. My sense is that I can't give you the specifics, and I don't know them,
Publicly.
but I would say that I've seen real willingness on different pieces of the authorities and government to say, let's see if we can work some things out.
Thank you.
I mean, there's a really good attitude in that's really encouraging to me, but specifically, I don't have anything. Doug, does that kind of mean it? I think that covers it, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. And if there's other information that the board would like to see when we have this conversation, please email that to Dr. Stubblefield, Dr. Turan, so we make sure we provide that to the board ahead of time before the next board meeting. I think Dr. Yeager had a question that you would like to make.
Yes, I know previously we were asked when this was presented, which one of these would be our priority. So I didn't know if a survey was going to be sent to us so that you would have some level of idea of what the board members are interested in doing with the funds, or if we would just all talk about it together. But I think if maybe we could give you some information ahead of time so you can know the pulse of what some of us were interested in investing in, rather than just having a discussion starting from ground zero, that may help.
Thank you, Dr. Yeager. Perhaps Dr. Turan, Mr. Clements, and Dr. Stubblefield, if you can work through something and maybe that would allow for the board to give input on this prior to the meeting, so we can come together and maybe give us some of that feedback as well.
That sounds good.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Turan? If not, thank you so much for the information.
Thank
Can I
you.
ask a clarifying question? As a part of this survey, or do you want to do it separately at a different time to talk about if we are actually going to look at a phase 2 bond for the stuff that was on the second page?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to at least have a high-level conversation of what things we should be looking at and thinking about as if we potentially want to enter into another phase of a bond. I think at a high level, I don't think at the next board meeting we need to get into the weeds of anything, but at least provide information for us and give an opportunity for board to have feedback. Would be great.
That sounds really good. I think one thing that's kind of at play too is that every day we get a better understanding of the ESSER funds and how wide that applies or not. And I think that will be helpful coming forward with more information before you. And your input is vital, and we really want it.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next agenda item, I would also recommend that the board defer for another board meeting regarding the KCK library, so I would ask to table this conversation. However, I would like to just let you know I will reach out to Carol Levers just to get an update about conversations that are ongoing with the library. If you recall, she did present information regarding updates from conversations regarding the downtown main library. So I'll be reaching out to Carol and following up with her and Tracy regarding those board members. You do have that information that was presented previously, and I'll make sure to update the board and keep you abreast of those conversations. Thank you. Greg, I'll need your help here.
Yeah. As I understand it, there's an issue that has come up with regard to the KSB's voting delegate when we did the votes for designated or appointing different board members to different positions at the organizational meeting in July or June or whenever it was. That item was left off inadvertently. Unfortunately, we have to submit that to KSB today. It's not noticed for the special meeting today, so technically what we would be doing under the statute is we would, if all board members are in agreement, they can waive notice for an additional special meeting, and we can notice up this item as an amendment to the agenda for today's meeting. Ms. Page wasn't here earlier when we adopted the agenda, so we had to wait for her to be present to be able to have all board members do that. So if we have a unanimous vote by the board to waive notice under the statute and to add that item to the agenda as a voting item, then you could address that issue and have somebody designated to vote at the KASB Delegate Assembly.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, discussion? Dr. Nguyen?
I think the delegate assembly is in December, right?
Leslie, make sure I got this right. Did I call it the wrong thing?
It's November 6th,
Oh, it's- okay.
2021, and December 16th.
Then it's at the convention.
No,
You said November 6th?
yes.
Then it's at the convention.
Yeah.
Oh, at the convention. I didn't
So-
hear you.
So they have to have the vote, they have to know today so that we have somebody who can vote on behalf of our district at the assembly, right?
On November 6th.
Okay.
Other questions? Ms. Smith, roll call, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Janie, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes?
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I would actually recommend or make a motion to appoint Dr. Nguyen as our voting delegate if she is willing to accept, and Ms. Janie Humphreys as a backup voting.
I second it.
Moved and seconded.
Jeannie won't be there.
So don't do that.
Okay, so I will amend my alternative to myself. I will be there. So, Ms. Drew, are you okay with that
Yes,
amendment? Thank you.
yes, I second it.
Thank you. So Dr. Nguyen as our voting delegate and myself as the alternate. Any questions or discussion? Ms. Smith, roll call vote, please.
Yolanda Clark,
Yolanda Clark, yes.
Maxine Drew,
Maxine Drew, yes.
Janie Humphries,
Jeannie Humphries, yes.
Randy Lopez,
Randy, yes?
Wanda Brownlee Page,
Wanda Brownlee Page, yes.
Dr. Nguyen,
Dr. Nguyen, yes.
Dr. Yeager.
Dr. Yeager, yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. With that, I just want to say thank you to our board, to Dr. Stubblefield for today's meeting, especially to staff. I know there was a lot going on this afternoon, this week, so I really appreciate you all making the effort so that we could have this meeting this afternoon and for keeping you a little late on Friday. So thank you all, especially our communications and our IT and Mr. Hoda and your team as well. So thank you all for the work you're doing. With that, our meeting is adjourned. Have a great weekend, everyone.